DNC made a lot of headlines, obviously, last week by having various Republican speakers there to speak in support of Joe Biden. You now represent the flip side of that. You'll be obviously addressing the RNC and the nation really as a pro-Trump Democrat. You just touched on that a little bit, but tell me a little bit more about your message and kind of what compelled you to do this.
Well, honestly, Carolyn, when I look at the Democratic Party, where they were, where they are, and where they're going, they don't represent the Black community. They get our votes, but they really do not support us. The Democratic Party left me. I didn't leave the party. They've gone so far left. They're embracing now defunding the police departments. They're embracing violent protesters, not really violent protesters, but really rioting that's taken place. They have not condemned it at all. When you look at the big tax increase that Joe Biden is talking about doing, and the Democrats, when President Trump has just passed this tax cut where the economy prior to the pandemic was on fire. And even when you look at it now, in the midst of the pandemic crisis, we're increasing jobs and still having record numbers on the stock market. And so this president is about moving this country forward. When I look at Democrats, you know, they want to tear down statues of both people who are supposedly related to slavery and Confederacy, but also related to Frederick Douglass, and they want to burn churches now. It's just a mess where the Democratic Party is going now.
Do you think that there's more people like you out there, that people that have traditionally been Democrat, voted Democrat their whole lives, but in recent months and years kind of have felt maybe like they just don't necessarily share the same values like they once did?
Yeah, and the sad part about it, they are afraid to speak out because the Democratic Party, that part that's gone so far left, they are bashing and character assassinating and intimidating and even doing voter suppression, because Democrats, a lot of them do not identify with the party now. And I'm a breath of fresh air. I'm what they want to hear and what they want to hear other Democrats say, but it has been going on. And so when they talk about me having courage, I'm just a person of my conviction. This is how I believe. Now, some call it controversial and some may call it something else, but for me, I don't mind saying that my party is not the party that it used to be. Would John Kennedy join the Democratic Party now? I don't think so. We want to open the borders. We literally now want to just make people, you know, just come in and make millions and millions of people legal without even going through an immigration process, and not even taking care of people here at home and building our roads and our schools and our bridges. And so I don't know, again, and then too, the bigger part of it too, for me as a Black conservative with conservative leanings, the Democratic Party, they don't have me, they don't want me under that tent. They want to think for me, like Joe Biden said, that Black people cannot think, you know, for themselves. They think just because I'm Black, I'm supposed to vote Democrat. So don't ask any questions. You just vote Democrat. They put our agenda last. Matter of fact, there is no Black agenda. And that's what I like about Donald Trump. Donald Trump has brought everybody along, not only the Black community, but other communities as well. But there are specific things that this president has done for the Black community, like historical Black districts, historical Black schools, not only refunding them, but at the same time, writing it into law so college presidents don't have to go year in and year out to try to beg for money. Also, prison reform. Joe Biden wrote the crime bill. Nobody denies that. He locked away thousands of Black men and women, separated them from their families. As a matter of fact, he said he didn't want his kids being reared in racial jungles. Now, Joe Biden said that. And here comes President Trump with the First Act program, reforming criminal justice. And what did he do? With this First Act program, he's allowing many people who were locked up in jail for all those years to be able to reunite with their families and become productive citizens. And so that's specifically to the Black community. And also opportunity zone districts. A lot of communities, but certainly a lot of Black communities who've been left behind with economic development and job creation. This president has come along and allowed for the investment to come in to revitalize those communities. And so, you know, someone called me the other day about having a job. They said they didn't have a real job until Trump became president. And that's right, prior to the pandemic, Blacks had high unemployment, the highest employment, I should say, going back to slavery, the lowest unemployment, if you will. And so, and that was across the board, Blacks, white, and everyone else. But But now the Democrats are supporting Antifa. They're supporting burning churches and burning businesses, taking over city blocks and kowtowing to them and bringing them literally porta-johns so they can continue to operate and just take over. No, there's something wrong with that. And I just can't support that anymore.
I know recently you went on MSNBC to speak about some of these things and to speak about the First Step Act, among other things, and how that's impacting the Black community. And the anchor of the program that you were on said something that really upset you, and you took to social media to speak out about that. Can you just tell us what it was that he said? Essentially, just to kind of recap, he was making the suggestion that perhaps you were getting paid for being pro-Trump and supporting Trump. So just tell us a little bit more about that encounter and why that offended you so greatly.
Well, I was on a show with MSNBC, which is a liberal network. I was on there with Craig Melvin, and he asked me why was I supporting Donald Trump. And so I started discussing my support for him because of his policies, his positions, what he's done for African Americans that hadn't been done by Democrats in the past 40, 50 years, and how he's done more to earn the Black support than any Democrat or Republican, probably going back to Richard Nixon. And so he immediately just couldn't accept it. And he asked me, I'm sure someone radioed into his ear, some liberal, and asked, well, ask Vernon, is he getting paid? And when he asked me, why am I supporting Donald Trump? Am I getting paid? That just goes to show you that liberals really think that Blacks aren't supposed to think for themselves. They don't have a mind. They don't have a brain, which reminds me of another Democrat, Margaret Sanger, who founded Planned Parenthood, who said that Blacks were intellectually defective and they needed to be weeded out. So this is consistent with the Democrats. Blacks are supposed to do what? Just like Joe Biden said, vote for them just because we're Black, not because we agree with them, not because we disagree with them. And so that was an insult on the whole African American community.
Yeah, and the insults obviously not just coming in that regard, but I know even from, as you sort of ended the last Georgia legislature, there was you were kind of just coming out and announcing your support for the president, and you took a lot of heat from people in your own party, a lot of heat and a lot of criticism online. And I know that as the legislature was kind of having that discussion about a hate crime bill, that you had wanted to include political speech and political discrimination for your, if you've got a differing ideology, you wanted to include that. Where did that go, and how did your colleagues receive that suggestion?
Well, if you want to make it a hate speech because someone has a difference of opinion based on your lifestyle, if you want to make it a hate speech because someone has a different opinion of you because of your color, then why can't you make it a hate speech that if someone not only have a difference of opinion, but try to suppress your opinion and even physically assault you because of your political ideology or your party affiliation? But the Democrats did not want that to go through because why? They're the biggest contributors to attacking people because of their political affiliation or their political party. Not only individuals, but networks, liberal media networks, like they did to the young teenager Sandman, where because he had a MAGA hat on, they immediately attacked him and said he was the aggressor, and so on and so forth. But we saw what Lynn Wood did for that, and now they've settled in the lawsuit because they were guilty of it. And so that's where this country is going now. You can't even have freedom of expression without being attacked, and that should be a hate crime.
Yeah. Well, I know that it didn't get included in the actual bill that passed, but perhaps that's.
Well, I think some of the Democrats were afraid.
Yeah.
No, I think the Republicans who didn't want it, they was afraid that it may hurt them in their reelection, and then Democrats were afraid to do it because, again, they would have been most of the ones caught up in it. And I can tell you right now, my attacks is not just about me, but it was people way before me. I had that bill drafted and submitted early on in the season before I went on attack for changing our parties, because I saw it happening across this country. And Georgia didn't lead by passing this hate crime. Georgia followed because there was already a hate crime bill. There's a federal hate crime bill, but Georgia could have led the way with having a part of the hate crime bill that if you attack someone because of their political affiliation or political ideology, then other states would have followed. So Georgia, when I heard the Speaker of the House talk about the courage that it took, it didn't take any courage for that. It would have taken courage if they had included political hate. I mean, being a hate crime bill that addressed people because of their party affiliation and political persuasion.
Yeah, I think that's a big topic right now that a lot of people can probably, as they hear you talk about that, it resonates with them, and probably why you hear so much of that quote silent majority, that people sometimes feel fear to come out and of their support for Donald Trump because of the backlash that they'll get online and, you know, out, unfortunately, out in public as well. So that would have been, as you say, a courageous and a bold first step for Georgia to take. They did not. I want to revert back to, again, the big news of the day, which is, of course, that you're going to be speaking at the RNC, and that officially was confirmed today. So just tell us what day you're going to be speaking, what time, and what you plan to talk about. I know you touched on a lot of that just now, but just recap that for us.
Well, first of all, it is an honor to speak at a national convention. It certainly is an honor to speak. Whether you speak at a Republican or a Democrat, I mean, that's an honor. But I'm especially honored here because the Republicans and the Republican Party, many of them, and the president, more importantly, realized that it wasn't about party affiliation with me. Is that I happen to be saying that something that a lot of African Americans are feeling, and that is that the Democratic Party has failed them. And they have failed them time and time and time again. And it's to the point where Joe Biden in 2020 can literally say to African Americans, if you don't vote for me, you ain't Black. And so this president has worked hard to earn the Black support. I want to be there to support him like he's done for us for the past 4 years, 3.5 years at least. And I want to give him opportunity. I want to help him to become the president for another 4 years so he can do even more, not only for this country and every color and every community, but certainly he does not leave the Black community behind. And I like the fact that he put America first. So I'll be talking about his support for America, his support for African Americans, his support for women, his support for law enforcement. Can you imagine now we're in an environment where police departments are literally cutting, or I should say defunding police departments, when they should be adding more funding for psychological examinations, more technology with, you know, non-lethal and other types of use of force, non-lethal, but they are not. And so we'll be, you know, I'll be addressing that head on, how the Democratic Party has walked away from all of that, and how the Democratic Party, you know, they are siding with China. The virus started in China. It didn't start in America. And to want to blame the president, I mean, that's some enemy that you can't see, you can't slap, you can't shoot. And it came from China. But the Democrats, would rather stand on the side with China, where it came from, than to be with the president, who's working as hard as he can to try to provide resources and tools to all the state and local governments so we can deal with this issue. Listening to the scientists and others, but sometimes the scientists don't get it right. So it kills me when I hear the Democrats saying, well, we're gonna listen to the scientists. Well, Dr. Fauci, if I understand, including the New York Times and some others, call themselves scientists and non-scientists, but they said that this virus simply more than nothing but a cold early on. And when the president of the United States made the move to ban travel from China, they said that he was a xenophobia, homophobia, all those phobias, and he was trying to protect America. But then when you look, now they're trying to blame him, said he could have done more, but when he was doing more, they didn't want it. So we're going to highlight a lot of those things, how the Democratic Party, Joe Biden does not deserve to be the president of the United States. And certainly when I look at him and Kamala Harris, you know what's funny about the Democratic Party? They don't want to pick a presidential or vice president, they don't want to pick a presidential candidate or a vice presidential candidate that has 2 Black parents. They're still grading Black people.
Wow.
Now, why didn't they pick Val Demings, the congressman from Florida, who's been in law enforcement, head of a law enforcement agency? She's not saying that one of her parents is this and one of her parents is that.
Yeah.
The Democratic Party is still grading Black people.
Sounds like you have an awful lot to say about it and to address. And so you're going to be speaking tomorrow night?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
At what time? Do you have a time?
It's going to be between 9 and I guess 11. You know, things are fluid, but I'm proud to be representing my race. I'm proud to be representing my party, you know, because the real party, not the ones where they've gone so far left, but those Democrats. Let me say, I'm proud to represent not the party, but those Democrats who still have conservative leanings, who support law enforcement, who support families, traditional families too, who believe in the Constitution, and who believe in fairness for all. So I'm proud to support those Democrats and those Republicans who feel the same way I feel. So yeah, I'm proud and I'm honored to do this.
Well, it's going to be a big night, to be sure. Anything else that I'm missing that you want to say about the night? And just, I mean, do you feel a weight on your shoulders a little bit, a responsibility in your message and how you deliver it? And also, I guess, too, I'm just curious to know what you anticipate to come on the flip side of it, because you will be on a national stage, an international stage, and you have a very strong and some might say controversial message to deliver. Where do you think this is all going to lead?
Yeah, you know what? I'm probably a little more nervous being on your show than being on that national platform. I mean, wow, this is a big treat. But I'll tell you this, if I'm controversial, because I make it clear that Democrats failed Black voters, then call me controversial. Mm-hmm. Call me controversial because they failed Black voters. They have time and time again, and I'm just not taking it anymore. And many other African Americans are not taking it anymore. And the Democrats went and tried to parade all those Blacks on stage last week. That shows you, that right there shows you that my message and other messages are resonating, that they can no longer take us for granted. But you know what? They've had all those years, including 47 for Joe Biden. I'm still not going to trust them this time. They're going to be, I can bet you, if they were to get elected, if Joe Biden were to get elected, the Black people be the first one they throw off the bus until the next election.
Is Vernon Jones switching his party after this?
No, I'm switching my tone. I've gone from being more silent to being more vocal. That's what's important. I want people to know that I can no longer sit back and just see this happen and not say anything about it, because many people feel this way. You know, it's interesting. Many whites want to come out and say they support Donald Trump, but they don't want to be called racist by the liberal media, or they don't want to lose their jobs, or they don't want to lose their position. And many Blacks want to come out and say that they support Donald Trump, but they don't want the liberal Democrats sending African Americans and other agent provocateurs to attack them. And so that silent majority is going to come, Carolyn, and they're going to come in a big way, like they came in 2016. So this whole thing is going to backfire on the Democratic Party because people are just tired of it.
Well, we will see where it goes, and we'll all be watching tomorrow night. You said between 9 and 11.
Yeah.
That's always flexible, but we'll be watching. And thank you for coming and talking to us here first. We appreciate it.
And thank you. If anybody wants to follow me, please go to my Twitter at Rep Vernon Jones. My Facebook is Rep Vernon Jones, and my Instagram is Rep Vernon Jones. But please follow me and let me know your thoughts, whether they support or not support what I say or what I believe in. But at least don't do like Democrats normally do, and that is suppress the Black votes. It's the Democratic Party that's leading the charge and supporting and depressing, I should say, in support of depressing the Black vote and suppressing the Black vote. They're doing it all to keep Blacks from coming off of that plantation. And so I hope everybody, white or Black, understand this, that this is between good and evil. That's where we are right now. And we have to elect Donald Trump, who's strong. He's a real leader, and he puts his country first, and he's not weak. The Democratic Party is looking for weak men. All right, the men in that party, they're weak, they're afraid, they've been taken over by the left, and they don't even know, they're just too afraid to say anything. Stand up, straighten your back, be who we are, lead like you believe in what you're doing, what you're standing for, even if someone doesn't agree with you.
Right.
So that's what I'm about, strong leadership.
That's right. Awesome. Well, thank you. We will be following your social media.
Okay.
I'm sure you'll be live tweeting and live updating. So best of luck. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Peace out, America.
Peace out. Thanks.